Who ends up paying for the Biden administration's feckless leadership? You. Oil prices up 2.5% this morning, though they have since pulled back as violence and volatility threaten the region. Joining us now with reaction, former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor and American Conservative Union Foundation board member, KT McFarland. At this point, this seems to be the point, KT. They want higher energy prices to crush the American people and force them, well, to walk.
Or ride bikes.
No, seriously.
Look, the problem is that the United States, the Biden administration, they've done two things that are just, they've enriched Iran, and that's because they've had these high oil prices as a result, as you just pointed out, because of the Biden administration war on American energy. And then they've also stopped enforcing sanctions against Iran. So Iran's selling oil at high prices all around the world. Iran's probably gotten an extra $100 billion thanks to the Biden administration. So what have they done with this windfall? They've encouraged their proxies, whether it's Hamas in Gaza, whether it's Hezbollah, whether it's the various groups in Iraq and Syria, and now and the Houthis in Yemen, to attack American and American allies throughout the region.
Well, you know, it's interesting because that doesn't really necessarily answer the larger question that Dagan asked, which I think is a really important one. And if you go back beyond the Biden administration through the Obama administration, their concept really does seem to be that they want to take this hornet's nest of the Middle East and hand it to Iran. But for a rational person who doesn't understand all of this stuff, that seems insane. It appears to be insane, and it appears to be reaping all kinds of chaos. Is that possibly what they're trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, the Biden administration, like the Obama administration before it, decided the way to peace in the Middle East is to appease Iran, to placate Iran, to basically let Iran get nuclear weapons, to let Iran be rich, to let Iran support all of these proxy groups around the Middle East. And they figured that way Iran will be happy. Iran won't escalate war. But the opposite has happened. And what I worry about, Charlie, is we are now going to go to a point where we've given Iran the ability to make war. And now, because of this placating policy, Iran's upping the ante every day, every week. There are more attacks. There are increasingly lethal attacks. We've been very good so far about foiling every single drone, every single missile heading to an American ship. What if we're not? It's only a matter of time before one of those missiles gets through, one of those drones, one of those Iranian proxy groups kills Americans. And then what do? Then we're kind of forced into a war that we don't want and that we're not prepared to fight. Far better than to placate and to defend. We need to deter again. We need to do what Reagan did, what Trump did. You need to go in there and show the Iranians that we're not just going to be defending ourselves. We're going to be taking out the sites that are sending weapons in our direction.
Well, as chaos swirls in the Middle East, KT, and elsewhere, Americans are becoming increasingly worried, concerned over what the hell we're doing when it comes to foreign policy. A new poll finds that 38% of adults want the government to work on foreign policy this year. That's more than double what it was last year. And you talk about what if service members, something happens. Well, we know what the what if is, because all Biden's approval collapsed and his disapproval took off. One word: Afghanistan. Because the American people saw how blithely he lies and how incompetently he leads. And so when 13 service members were killed because Bagram was shut down, and when the Gold Star family members spoke out just a few months ago, he was meeting with the Houston Astros at the White House. That's who he is.
Yeah, and the problem is these things don't happen in isolation. You know, it's like blood in the water. Sharks smell blood in the water. They'll come for miles around to attack. What's going to happen because of Afghanistan, because of what's happening in the Middle East, where we're constantly getting attacked and we're not doing anything about it, what's happening around the world in China, what China's doing to try to take further, seizing further assets in the South China Sea and in the Western Pacific. What happens if we're distracted, if we're somehow sucked into some war in the Middle East, if we're somehow sucked in? Joe Biden has just come out in the last 48 hours and said he's really worried about the United States going to war with Russia over Ukraine. What's China going to do? China is going to take full advantage of every opportunity. And if they think we're distracted and we can't handle it, that's when they go after Taiwan. So the American people should be worried, not just because it happens halfway around the world and, oh, isn't that too bad? It's because there will be a direct effect on the American economy, on the prices we're paying for energy, on the supply chain, if all of this global trade somehow is no longer supported. If Iran takes its region and it's in charge, if China takes its region and it's in charge, and Russia takes its region, and we no longer have freedom of communication or commerce.
KT, thank you. Always, KT McFarland.